Okay, of course, we always start out with some announcements. Um, Slide one is early birds. There we go. Hey, Andy. So early birds meet Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom. Link is in the weekly email or on the website. Upcoming speakers. Today we have our beloved Reverend Randy. Next week is our annual meeting on the 11th, and Edward will speak. And then on the 18th is Reverend Sandy Scott, and on the 25th is Reverend Kamatar from Albuquerque. Thursday evening group meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. They're watching a variety of videos, sure to bring up questions and discussion. So the Board of Trustees will meet this coming Wednesday on February 7th. We wanted to meet before the annual meeting, and that's at 6:30 on Zoom. And we invite all of you to attend because the congregational input is very valuable in our decision processes for our beloved Wellspring. And as I'd mentioned, next Sunday, February 11th, is our annual meeting. After service, a salad luncheon will be served following the meeting. And the agenda for the meeting is the treasurer's report on Wellspring's finances, property updates, outreach, what we've been tithing. We tithe quarterly to mostly community organizations. There will be board candidates and write-ins. There is a board vacancy available, so we ask you to please consider thoughtfully to fill the important position of joining the board as it does the work for our beloved Wellspring's highest and best good. And for information, please talk to any of the board members. We have Jim Moore, Judy Bethman is here, Brenda Wauer is here, Edwin, and Edward. And sorry, Becky, I didn't see you back there. And that would be me, Vicki. Okay. And then, so after we have the voting on board candidates, then there'll be questions and answers. So if you have anything that you'd like to find out about what's going on, please bring your question. And as I always say, if I don't know the answer, I'll make something up. So. Are you ready, Jean? Yeah. Okay. Coming up on Monday, February 12th at 7 p.m., we're going to have a sonic massage with gongs workshop. And Jean Granger is here to talk about that and about her upcoming dowsing workshop.
Okay, going back to the flyer on the sonic massage on the 12th, going back to the flyer for the sonic massage, there we go, on the 12th. Really pleased to have my good friend Faye Henry, who's coming through town from Georgia, and said I'd get her a place to do her fantastic, I call it the Gong Show. I have been privileged to attend it for, oh my goodness, 25, 30 years at dowsing conferences and healing conferences all over the U.S. It is a sublime experience to be in the room and hear these gongs. It reaches every part of your soul. Edward and I are going to arrange the room with half seating for those who may be able to get down but not back up, and the other half room for reclining chairs or yoga mats for people who wish to do the experience lying down. This is a great opportunity, folks. It really, really is. So we've been putting the word out to the other like-minded congregations in town, and I've been putting flyers all over town, also in places where I think people would be receptive to this kind of event. And it will be $30 a person, payment at the door, of which with an arrangement with you all, part of that goes back to here, to Wellspring. So this is for the good of all, definitely. It's a wonderful experience. Okay, and then on the third Saturday of the month, there we go. That's an older picture of me, but as long as I don't change my hair color or the cut, you know it's me, right? I'm going to be doing a dowsing class. We are going to be talking again about map dowsing, which is the ability to use a map with a pendulum or rods or an instrument to find something without actually being there. We started this class last month and it was really interesting. So interesting that we didn't get through the video that I had brought, so we're going to finish that video. And then I'm going to launch into a discussion of ley lines, which for those of you who don't know what they are, they're energetic lines around the earth, and they cross over at places. And interestingly enough, on many, or if not most of the crossover are spiritual sites, are things like Stonehenge and other remarkable or land mounds from our early Native American folks. But all these places, there is something spiritual people knew about, and they marked the spot. Very interesting. We'll be again showing a video with another friend of mine who really can get into it. And as dowsers, of course, we can douse where they are, where they cross, as well as going to them. Really interesting to know about this energy and how it affects us all. So we'll be seeing you then, and thank you very, very much for this great opportunity of having this place to do both of these kinds of works. Thank you.
So two amazing opportunities to come together as a community and have an awesome experience. So lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and to support you. You may submit a request via our website, our webpage, or we do have paper requests at the back, and you could give to Edward. The prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know that we are one in spirit and that the energy of prayer knows no limit. And now it's time for our invocation. If you'd like to just get comfortable in your chair, feel it supporting you, and feeling the community of Wellspring also supporting you. As we talk to Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit, the all that is in, through, and around each one of us here today present to support us in our gathering for our next few steps on our spiritual journey. We know that all is in divine order, and we are here to support each other as we walk the path of enlightenment together. We give great thanks for this opportunity to come together and support our beloved Wellspring. And we say together, and so it is. Thank you. And now, if you would please stand, if you're able, for our song of joy. Put a little love in your heart. have a seat if you'd like. You can stand if you'd like too. If you want to do cartwheels, feel free. We support that. Okay, so if you would, please join together and let's read our vision, mission, and our affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, and loving fellowship and service. And our affirmation: I am in the place where love shows up. I shine the light of love for all who cross my path, and relying with spirit with my love feels dim. Wellspring is a radiant center of love for each and our community. That's why we put a little love in our hearts. And now it's my great honor and privilege to have Barry do music. And that'll be very nice that you do that. Barry, that was beautiful. What is the name of that piece?
Autumn Ballad.
Autumn Ballad.
You know, it's my favorite. I discovered this piece because of it.
That's beautiful. Yes, thank you. Well, now it's time for the reading. I wanted to share with y'all. I've been helping some friends pack and move, and my body is screaming at me. I hurt in places where I forgot I had places because I don't always use all of those muscles that you use when you're lifting and with your back, with your legs, not your back. So, and I got thinking about that, how we don't always exercise our own spirituality. And so sometimes we may be in pain or in discomfort. And so that's why it's important, like what our mission is through study and daily prayer, whatever, that we support our own spiritual growth and learn to trust that Spirit is with us always. So the reading today, I remembered that there's a poem in the very first page of the Science of Mind text before you even get into the table of contents. And so this is the poem. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my house. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is here also, it sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. And so now I'd like to introduce our dear friend, Randy Granger.
Thank you, dear friend Vicky. Vicky and I go back a while, a few lifetimes at least. It's good to see her in the real. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy New Year. It still is, right? What month is this? March? You know, as the calendar flips and we begin another new year, most of us set resolutions. Anybody here set a resolution? Nobody. Okay, wrong crowd, wrong church, sorry. Maybe we create a list of goals. Maybe we vow to exercise more, meditate every day, be more spiritual, eat healthier, save money, be happier, learn a new language. Now, while these aspirations are usually pretty well intentioned, sometimes they can lead us to focusing on the future, inadvertently pulling us away from, things like the precious moment, which is what I'll be talking about today, the present. We all know about that, and accepting what the present moment brings you. When you consider it, all life really does happen in the present. Let's try something. Close your eyes, if you would, please. Now, try to predict what your next thoughts will be. Okay, if that doesn't work, try to remember this time yesterday what your thoughts were. Okay, some of you can probably do it. I know I certainly can't. But it certainly teaches us about living in the present moment. That's where everything definitely happens. It requires a little bit of discipline and practice to live in the present moment, as I learned this morning. We may not be comfortable with what is being right now. For instance, I made some edits on my sermon yesterday, and I went to print them out this morning. Well, the printer was having none of that. Just tried everything. Emailed it to my friend. He couldn't print it. We did smudges and everything. Nothing worked. I thought Staples. I put it on a thumb drive, went to Staples, opened the door. They open at 11 on Sundays. And so thankfully, Edward saved me with their computer. I brought a thumb drive that I was going to bring to Staples. So it was such a great reminder. I said, okay, this is what is. I was going to wear a different vest today. Couldn't find it. Magically, it's hiding, probably with a printer somewhere. And so, in other words, living in the present moment is all we can actually do in that situation. Now, mindfulness. Probably, many of you have heard of it. It's an ancient practice of being fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing in that moment, not being overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on all around us. I heard a story recently about how they're teaching mindfulness in quite a few schools around the country, even in Florida. And so that's where the story was out of. And so it was great because they were talking to the teachers. It's this group that sponsors it and trains people around the country, and I can't remember what their group is called right now, I'm sorry, but it turns out by doing this that they were working with elementary school students, teaching them how to be present, teaching them how to be in the moment, teaching them how to be mindful, and they actually were speaking about being mindful, the elementary school kids. Well, it led to better grades. It's led to less absences, more empathy, less self-focus, increased self-control, and reportedly less feelings of being stressed. These were the kids who were talking about that. They say, I feel less stress when I do this. One technique is simply having them tune into the sounds and the environments that are around them without any judgment at all. So let's try that just for 30 seconds. Just be still, pay attention to the sounds, to the feeling of your seat against the seat, to your feet on the floor. Just notice those things. And that's being present. It's fleeting. It's here. It's now. You know what the only thing what I can hear, I think, is it must be the air machine. You know, so that's nice. How does this all relate to New Year's resolutions? Well, first of all, we have the fear of not achieving our resolutions. That can lead to stress and anxiety. Practicing mindfulness allows us to let go and focus on the present moment. Mindfulness invites us to be present without judgment. Secondly, New Year's resolutions can emphasize the result. But when we live in the present, we learn to find joy in the journey itself instead of fixating on what the end goal is or feeling guilty about that. So we can celebrate the small steps. You know that placing your fork down between bites is an example of mindfulness. Wow. Third, we can treat ourselves harshly if we fail to live up to our resolutions. So mindfulness engenders that self-compassion, and we can acknowledge our own choices and make more mindful and compassionate choices as we go forward. New Year's intentions, they can also be powerful tools for personal development and growth, like learning a new language, for instance. But remember, they shouldn't overshadow the importance of living in the present moment. So as the year begins, I invite us all to set intentions with the understanding that the present moment is where our lives are truly lived. And it's here that we can find the lasting fulfillment and happiness, even when we might be experiencing discomfort. Mountain climbers, when they're climbing a peak, they have a way of noticing the spacing between footfalls. They step and they'll notice that. When Buddhists are meditating, they'll pay attention to that spacing between breaths. The breath there is a death, the new one is a birth. And so by focusing on that present moment, it's pretty easy to get through that as far as mindfulness goes. Okay, so what happens if the present moment is negative or painful or uncomfortable or distressing? Maybe you're in the middle of grief or loss or trauma. How do we live in the present when the present is uncomfortable? One way to do it, I'm going to throw a new term at you here, is to reset our spiritual algorithms. There's no math involved here, but who's ever heard of the phrase energy flows where attention goes? Okay, we all know that. Who's ever heard of the word algorithm? It's pretty big now, isn't it? The concept of algorithms, long history, going all the way back to ancient civilizations, traced back to the 9th century, conceived by this Persian mathematician, Abdullah Muhammad, and he's considered the father of algebra. So this is something that I really find funny. I'll get to it, but I think you'll find it funny. Okay, but think about it. Do our decisions serve as input to life's algorithms? In other words, are our daily choices, what we say, what we think, and what we do, are they creating an algorithm for us spiritually? Is life like Netflix and Google algorithms that show content and in some cases experiences and opportunities based on previous history? Now these streaming services, they're pretty clever at manipulating us with algorithms. Every story we click on, every House Hunters thing that we stream, that we binge, every product, every keyword, cooking show, movie, or series we watch on streaming services, they all act like somebody's reading our minds. Then they take all those little clues and prompt us by saying, you may also like. Or the other one I see a lot is, other shoppers bought this. Don't tell me that. What? Maybe I should have, I'll get that too, you know. So much so that every single post and meme and movie and charcuterie board in our shopping cart is curated to look like it's just for little old me. It's insidious when you think about it. Ads follow you everywhere. Have you noticed that? You know, I've noticed, I think about shoes, all of a sudden the ads are showing up. I'm thinking, what's going on here? You know, I don't know how that happens, but somehow it's tied in. But all these algorithms, when you think about it, everything that we're seeing that's chasing us around, ads, movies, you may also like, they're based on our choices. Algorithm is arguably the single most important concept in our world right now. If we want to understand our life and our future, we should really try to understand what algorithms are and how algorithms are connected with our emotions. That's a really big aspect of it. An algorithm is just a metaphorical set of steps that can be used to make calculations, resolve problems, reach decisions. Here's an imprecise but approximate algorithm of making a salad. Get organic, fresh leafy greens. Wash, cut, throw in a bowl. Add extra veggies like radishes and celery and onions and carrots. Put some salad dressing on it. Perhaps add a little protein, and voila, there's your salad algorithm, also known as a recipe. Albert Einstein said about our minds, he said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Consider everything that we're experiencing right now in the present. It's due to our choices and that spiritual algorithm. If our attention is flowing towards thoughts of like poverty or struggle or division, guess what? You'll continue to experience and notice those conditions. In November, I drove to Florida and back to do some at a music festival. I began noticing Teslas, you know, when we were driving, and then I started noticing Teslas everywhere. And then I could only see Teslas, and then pretty soon the road was full of Teslas. And so that's how it worked. You know, when we were kids, we used to play that. We would see the VW bugs, you know. So what you give your attention to is what you begin to notice. And the way that that works is that we openly broadcast what we're thinking about, what we're feeling about. Our spiritual broadcast, it's a station that's always letting God, Creator, Infinite Spirit, Substance, as Ernest Holmes called it, know where our attention is set. And the universe says, you may also like, or other people manifested this. So what we put out, we bring about. What we think about, and what we feel about, we bring about all of that. So now in early 2024, how can we focus and broadcast something that we actually really, really, really want? Some people, including me, are taking algorithmic fasts. Coming up on the season of Lent is a good time to think about fasting. Not in the food-wise, but fast from negative thinking, fast from complaining, fast from anything that's not serving your highest good. So I've been taking an algorithmic fast, meaning I either log out of something completely like Instagram or Facebook or spend as little time as possible. The algorithms forget who you are, and they forget it. It's kind of a nice thing. It's something that I would recommend. So I want to give you some steps on setting our spiritual algorithm, more like resetting our spiritual algorithm. Now, the first one is, okay, turn away from anxiety-fueling news programs, links, stories that are all over television and the internet. Just refuse them. They're designed for one agenda only. You know, I have a journalism degree, and when we were in journalism school, we were told if it bleeds, it leads. You know, if that's what gets the top action in the news. Horrible, 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 and even worse. Well, it's designed to keep us watching, to keep us hooked, and to weaken our virtue and our pocketbooks. Because having an entire culture in panic mode is very profitable. If we fear, we hoard. Remember, watching the news never changes the news, but it does change you. So, fast. Read for pleasure. Oh my gosh. Read a magazine, read a book, read an article. Just read for pure enjoyment and expansion. I love how AARP is now having people like Ringo Starr and Keith Richards and Dolly Parton, all these, Willie Nelson, all these great people. I'm finally reading it. You know, it comes to my house for some reason. I'm only 20, but it comes anyway. try to read as often as you can outside of the digital universe. Kindles and iPads are great and fun. I have mine here with me, but don't let that be your exclusive source for reading. The brain needs a good chunk of quality time every day to be removed from electromagnetic energy, eye strain, social media, and to be reminded of the world of imagination and connection that does exist beyond our digital screens. I always talk about FOMO. FOMO being the fear of missing out. Hey, be glad you're missing out. You know, that's a really good way to disconnect. The next step to reset your spiritual algorithm is meditate. Or, at the very least, find a way to simply be silent in the stillness for a few moments every day. The more minutes a day you have that you can find it quiet, the better you'll be able to hear that inner voice. The better everything will be, I guarantee it. I read the memoir of Sarah Maitland on her experiment with withdrawing from the world in pursuit of silence. There's a whole discussion to be had about that. But its impact on society is pretty significant. For now, for this, however, just allow yourself a few minutes each day to power everything down, put your phone in the other room, and just be. The next is to connect with a higher power. Now, I realize this term is as wide as an ocean, but something that is greater than your pedestrian self, and that has something to teach you, offer you, feed you, nourish you. Maybe it's the collective unconscious, maybe it's music, maybe it's art, maybe it's nature, maybe it's the source within. There's no need to affix a label to it. Simply be with it. Find yours and plug in regularly. That reminds me of my friend, the Reverend Bonnie Rice, who recently made her transition. And I had first met her when I was playing at hospice, and she was a chaplain there, and I was playing flute. And we really hit it off because we're both Virgos, so we really connected on that. And so when she was in hospice this time, I went to play flute, and she was kind of in and out of that state. And I swear I could see a smile on her face. And what I told her was, "You're so lucky. You're going to have such a great time." Very rarely am I with somebody at hospice that I think, that person, they're excited. They're looking forward to that transitional light. And so I was so glad at that moment that I was connected to a higher power. I know she is connected to a higher power. I know there's a higher presence there, and I was really grateful in that moment. Next is to create. Even if you're not an artist, artist is only a label, okay? We all have creativity and imagination in us, and it can show up in the most unexpected act, which is usually how it works anyway. I know, being a musician, boom, just shows up. But feed that artistic sensibility, promote it. The spiritual benefits are great. The next is to be a child again. Play. There's so much obligation and commitment and management of planning our fortune making and our IRAs and governing our adult lives. It's just difficult to allow any time to rest in there. But play fiercely with a joyous abandon. I find a reason to laugh daily. I mean, I really do. I laugh at pretty much all day, and I'm happy that I can and that I do. I find so much really funny. I have these two koi fish in the pond out back. One of them's white, one of them's black and gold. So I named the white one Aretha, and I named the other one Mick for Mick Jagger. Well, Aretha's always first to come and get the koi food, and Mick's just hanging down there partying. He's trying to decide, and so she swims down to the bottom. She gets him. "Come on, Mick, we got to eat, baby." And so make me laugh. Find things like that to do. The Italians have a term for this playing. It's called dolce far niente, which means literally do nothing. And they have worked it into an art form. Good for them. We do not need to be in a constant state of planning and producing and consuming. Smile at nothing. Sit and gaze. Daydream, decompress. I heard a story recently that the average adult nowadays checks their phones 2,000 times a day. Oof. Create a daily gratitude ritual, okay? It can be a prayer, it can be a journal, a log, a mantra, a meditation. Record notes on your phone. I'm grateful for this. And I'm not going to say that SIRI word right now because my phone will probably hear it. I don't understand you. I like to joke around with her a lot too, though. Get your phone when you leave, if you have an iPhone, and say her name and ask, "Do you love me?" And you'll get a great answer. So it's really, really funny. So I make myself laugh doing that. But I've always loved the tradition. I found a lot of beauty in simply blessing one's food. Whether you put your hands over it like Reiki, or whether in a lot of Native American tribes, they'll put a small plate on the table. So you put extra food for the ancestors that are with you. Just a way to show the lineage of doing that. But what a lovely idea to express out loud in a ritual our thankfulness for the bounty on our plates. And not taking a meal for granted, but truly cherishing what it gives us, how it nourishes us, especially considering how many don't have that particular luxury. And finally, be in nature. We all talk about that, and we know it, and thank goodness we live in such a great place. Oh, well, except maybe yesterday. That was some wind. It was almost like spring winds a little early. For me, nature has always been my church. Maybe it's my Native American ancestry, but I find a real reverence in nature. I always have. Simply taking a nature bath. You know what nature baths are? Where you're just sit in nature and tuning in with all of your senses. Go through all your 5, 6 senses, however many you have, and really note. What I try and do is go to the same place. I'm really grateful that within 2 minutes from my house, there's an open space area. And I'm so grateful that it's there. And I hope it continues to be there. Nature bathing, or simply tuning into each of your senses in a nature setting, it can heal so much. There's this tradition that I came across years ago of where you give the earth all of your pain, whatever that you're dealing with. You simply get on the ground, on your back, or on your stomach, or however you're comfortable, however you can physically do it, and just give your pain to the earth. And there's a real healing there. I've told this story here previously. When the astronauts first went up into space, they were getting headaches and migraines and feeling really off kilter. So they found a way to transmit the frequency of Earth with these oscillators. The frequency of Earth is 8 hertz. We can't actually hear it, but we can feel it. And anywhere you go in nature, Nikola Tesla discovered that a thunderstorm, when the lightning strikes, was at 8 hertz. And so I'm really excited to see that the gong bath that you have coming. That's going to be beautiful. I have a lot of friends who actually do that as a practice, and I know a lot of gongers. So I even held one at my house for a group of people. I had some people coming through, and they needed a place to do a gong ceremony, a gong bath, and so I had them do it, and it was really powerful. Although one of the participants left her body, and so that was a little snafu. But she came back, and so thank goodness. How do you explain that to the cops? Well, so our senses, we are connected to this earth. We're part of this earth. We are absolutely. So be in nature. Those are all ways to reset our spiritual algorithms. The writer Rupert Spira said, "Whenever we are seeking happiness, it is in fact our innate happiness that is seeking us. The happiness we seek is the happiness we are." And so it is. But let's get quiet now, and let's get still and experience some of that stillness, that innate rhythm and stillness. We can say that all of our needs in this moment, in this present moment, all of our needs are being met. Otherwise, we couldn't be here. We couldn't be present, but we are. And just a simple gratitude for that knowledge is a great access into greater gratitude. Follow your breath in and hold it for 2 seconds and follow it out. That helps rock your parasympathetic nervous system, brings in some alignment. I'm going to leave you with a little blessing, a little prayer. I have come to terms with the future. From this day onward, I will walk easy on the earth. I will plant trees, kill no living things. I will live in harmony with all creatures. I will restore the earth where I am. I will use no more of its resources than I need. And listen. I will listen to what earth is telling me. Aho mitakuye o oyasin, which means acknowledging all my ancestors. Mitakuye oyasin. Mitakuye oyasin. Thank you. You can join us in this song too. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion to accept Wellspring. You may those people, there we go, living life in peace, and you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A community of one. Oh, imagine all the people just sharing this old world, and you may say I'm a dreamer, oh, but I'm not the only one. someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you.
Well, come on. Now it's time for our offering, and Jim, if you'd be so kind as to pass the basket. So we see these gifts in the form of money and paper, but we know that beneath all that is a much greater gift. That is the gift of ourselves. It is an acknowledgement of the flow of the divine source, the abundance, the all that there ever is, the more than enough. We know that we are part of that flow. It comes through each of us. It comes to this community, and it passes through as we tithe to other organizations within our community. So we give great thanks for this ability to participate in this flow. We know that that is life. That is what we are here for. And so it is. Thank you, Jim. And there are a few folks who have contributed today. Obviously our speaker, our musicians, our platform assistant, but the hidden ones in the back of the camera there and the one running our Zoom, we give great thanks for each and every one of you and your participation today. It wouldn't be possible without them. And I think, see, I'm having to ad-lib it, but no. Next we have our the invitation to our social hall. Folks, come join us afterwards, have a little coffee, have a little conversation, and enjoy the togetherness of the community. And now if you will stand and join me for our benediction, followed by our peace song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us.